Just wondering if you could talk about that for a little bit.
Pope St. John Paul II never said that it is somehow wrong for a Catholic to support the death penalty. Neither did Pope Benedict XVI. The confusion has arisen here because of a change in the language in the Catechism by Pope Francis. But you'll notice, even the language that Pope Francis used was very, very particular. He stopped short of saying that capital punishment is intrinsically evil. He can't say that capital punishment is intrinsically evil because it is defended not just by the great saints and doctors of the Church, not only because it was practiced by great popes, some of whom have been beatified. I'm thinking of Blessed Pope Pius IX, who took care of a fair share of criminals with capital punishment in the Papal States. But it's also defended explicitly in the Bible. It's defended explicitly in the writings of St. Paul, among other places. So the Church can never say that it is at all times always intrinsically evil to pursue capital punishment. Now, there were some statements made by Pope St. John Paul II, who said that as a prudential matter, really capital punishment should not be carried out all that often, but it's still legitimate. And Pope Benedict XVI, I think, put it very well and very diplomatically and very clearly, which unfortunately there seems to be a lack of clarity often in this pontificate. But Benedict put it very clearly when he said that Catholics can have a legitimate difference of opinion on the matter of capital punishment. I support capital punishment, along with Blessed Pope Pius IX. I've never carried one out like he did, but I support it because I think we've lost a real sense of justice. Your question is excellent because it gets to the heart of our topic tonight. What is justice? And what do we mean by a criminal justice system? There are three purposes of criminal justice. Rehabilitation, that's the one we talk about all the time now. Deterrence, that's another one. And retribution. Retribution. And that's not just like a kind of old-fashioned, third one that maybe we should forget about it. That's the primary purpose. If rehabilitation is the primary purpose of criminal justice, then we should all go to jail at some point, right? I've got plenty of habits that I could use some rehabilitation on. I think we all do. If deterrence were the primary purpose of criminal justice, then it doesn't matter if the person that we're punishing is guilty or not. We're just trying to make an example of somebody, right? We're just trying to deter other people from committing a crime. Retribution. That is the primary purpose. We are punishing people because they have offended justice, because they've committed the crime. And I don't see any reason to believe that this means we can give them a parking ticket, but we can't possibly enact capital punishment. Capital punishment is cruel and unusual. Certainly not by the standards of the Constitution. The definition of a felony was capital punishment at the time of ratification, so I don't think our founders meant that. You might say that life imprisonment would be cruel and unusual punishment, certainly by the lights of the Constitution. So I think there's a good argument to abolish life in prison and replace it with a swifter death penalty process. I think there's a good argument to be made that the death penalty is unevenly carried out, very rarely carried out at all. People languishing on death row for 30 years, I don't think that's particularly just. But I don't think that the state holds the sword in vain to get back to the biblical basis of some of these issues. And I also would say that while the retributive effect and the deterrent effect of capital punishment are well established, despite some popular protestations to the contrary, few people acknowledge the rehabilitative effects of capital punishment. A little bit of a morbid business here, but it actually can have quite a rehabilitative effect. To quote Dr. Johnson, hanging concentrates the mind. What I mean by that is, and his full quote is, when a man knows he is to be hanged in a fortnight, depend upon it, sir, it concentrates his mind wonderfully. And if the real purpose of justice here is to bring this person's soul back into order, really to rehabilitate it, a man might languish on death row for 30, 40 years. With no end in sight, he might die of some disease later on, never come face to face with this question of justice. But when he's facing the scaffold, he very well will. And so certainly it would seem to me, in my humble opinion, and the humble opinion of the greatest doctors of the Church and of Scripture, that capital punishment is justified. But I think there's a pressing social aspect to it here, a pressing political aspect, and I think it is compassionate for the very people who would suffer it.